Welcome to you all, and thank you so much for taking part in this year's Green Party Spring Conference. All of us have seen our lives slow down considerably over the past 12 months as a result of the pandemic. Since we last gathered together virtually for the autumn conference, so much and yet so little has changed. But I feel as a world, we've changed forever. And we've seen the UK officially leave the EU, though we've seen the vaccine programme being rolled out. And also we saw the US elect a president that brought their country back into the Paris Agreement. Also here in the UK, we experienced record numbers of COVID patients and fatalities, and life has changed. We've all met challenges, and in many ways I believe that we've all experienced the same pandemic, but not one of us will have experienced the same thing. The pandemic has also had an impact on our work as Greens, and I know that many of you are missing pushing leaflets through doors and talking to residents. But there's good news that all of our work over the years is paying off. Recent polls predict that a green rise in voting intention, putting us above the Lib Dems in many instances. Our policies are not just capturing people's imaginations, they're giving them hope for a better kind of future that we can build. A future where our policies forge the opportunity to reset a broken and damaged system that need to work for communities, people and planet. We've learned a lot from this pandemic, and for many, what they prioritise has shifted. For example, nature has been a precious connection to life. It kept changing with the seasons while we had all stopped. It connected us to our landscapes in a whole new way. As we felt the constraints of the first lockdown, so too we yearned to be in the outdoors with a sense of freedom and appreciate its beauty. Going for a walk or run in the local park or in the countryside reminded us of the benefits the natural world can bring to our mental and physical well-being, such as relieving stress and anxiety while boosting our energy levels and self-esteem. Spring brought flower blooms and heralded the arrival of our migratory birds. Over the year, though, many have lost touch with this passion for nature and wildlife, a novelty from the first wave that wore off perhaps as Brits searched for other ways to relieve boredom or simply craved a pub beer garden now. It is vital that we rekindle that passion and ensure that people use their newfound connection to nature to empower them to protect it. We can show greater respect to nature as this happens. We can all be using public transport more, breaking systems that mean that what we buy might harm nature, and make sure that we use our voice to scrutinise political decisions and take part in community-led projects that focus on sustainable living. We saw moments of positivity during the first lockdown when there was less traffic on the road and in the skies, and pollution plummeted. Asthma sufferers felt like they could breathe again. Our rivers and streams benefited from the decrease in toxic chemical discharge from the slowing down of big industrial plants. And we even saw that there was an increase in residents wanting to add biodiversity to their gardens to encourage bees and butterflies and bring greenery, making sure that we are investing in the diversity of nature. Nature must be a priority. We must protect it for its own right, as well as for our own food, water and well-being. We can do this by conserving nature locally and campaigning nationally and internationally for a law of ecocide. However powerful it is, nature isn't a silver bullet to our well-being problems. Lockdown has exposed the tragic lack of mental health support services. We've known that they were strained for years, yet a lack of political will has meant that many haven't had the support they needed in their darkest hours. We've seen children accessing counselling increase by 10% since the start of the pandemic. People experiencing suicidal thoughts have risen to 10%. Young people aged between 13 and 24 have been reporting that they've tried and were unable to access mental health services. At this time of grief, loss and restriction, mental health should be a priority and should now be given permanent parity with that of the status of physical health. The reality of the situation is that the NHS is understaffed and underfunded to be able to deal with the referrals alone, as we see personnel drafted onto the front line to deal with the pandemic. While this is happening, our government handed out £12 billion to private companies for a test and trace system built on Excel rather than investing in things like mental health and other things. This money could have been spent on all of the following: a pay rise for all NHS staff, running a UBI trial in a major city, plugging the funding black hole for rough sleepers, keeping universal credit at its higher rate, paying councils what they were promised for walking and cycling, creating a new rewilded national park, and they would still have money left to run a track and trace app that worked, like the app in Germany that cost just £62 million. Because as Greens, our priorities as a party are clear, and we prioritise our frontline workers and those struggling over private profits. That's why we need a green COVID recovery plan that gives the excluded a voice and a rebalance to radical and rational politics that addresses these inequality which have been so deeply entrenched in our society. This is what we achieve when we get Greens elected. As the lead list candidate for South Wales East, I'm proud to be part of the brilliant team within the party as we campaign for the Welsh Parliament election, which will take place on the 6th of May. Behind the scenes, excellent work is being done by candidates, volunteers, activists, and many others to ensure that we stand the best chance of success. And I'd like to thank all of them for their hard work and dedication. Like many of you fighting council elections, the COVID restrictions have caused a democratic imbalance here in Wales. While we haven't been able to deliver leaflets or knock on doors, Conservative and Labour candidates have been able to afford paid delivery and postal delivery. Despite this, though, we're still working hard, and we're not just building to win our first seat in the Senedd, but we're building to win in the 2022 council elections too. We know the power of green voices and scrutiny here in Wales and across the UK, and we're campaigning to secure a vibrant future for everyone. Here in Wales, that means investment in our health and social care services, including more funding for the NHS, as well as investment in education and the economy, having solutions for equality for BME communities who have been massively disproportionately affected by COVID-19. We want to transform the woeful public transport services that fail to get people out of their cars and onto buses and trains, and often just fail. With votes at 16 in this election, we hope to see a wave of young people voting Green. We also hope to ensure that Labour voters stop wasting their votes on the proportional list where they won't win and vote Green to secure a better Senedd. Wider party campaigning across the UK has been happening across the UK, and we've seen so many successes at the local level during the pandemic, epitomised by the creative and original Green Party political broadcast last month. Greens on the Brighton and Hove Council have called for safer environments within schools and preempted the government's decision to close them, they were working to protect teachers and frontline workers. They subsequently set up a petition to consolidate their strong opposition on this. We've been continuing to push for priority vaccination for the extraordinary people who put their lives at risk each day to make our countries function. Meanwhile, work from York Greens got the government's attention and made them consider introducing a universal basic income. Our universal basic income call is stronger than ever, and we remain committed to ensure that those living with financial insecurities as a result of the pandemic live more comfortably. These small changes will make a massive difference to people's livelihoods. We should celebrate the gains made by our colleagues on a broader scale, such as by the Scottish Greens. A recent poll suggests that they're on course to gain a record number of seats for the members of the Scottish Parliament in May. Rail experts welcomed the Scottish Greens' plan for a £22 billion investment to upgrade the Scottish railways. Their vision, described as genuinely aspirational and bold and technically literate, would see a new tunnel between Leith and Fife, open up rural stations and better connect the cities. Scottish Green member MSP Alison Johnson forced the hand of the Scottish Government to implement protections for mountain hares. As of this month, it will be illegal to intentionally kill or take mountain hares without a licence. These are key victories that will help turn the public tide towards green votes and towards a better future, which will put in place climate and the ecological crisis and social justice at the heart of society and our policies. And it's what Greens will do if we're elected in Wales and across councils in the country. It gives me great pride and pleasure to serve all of you as the Deputy Leader of the Green Party of England and Wales. And again, I'd like to thank you all for your dedication and hard work to make this party the force for good that it is. I know that we're all looking forward to a brighter, green future. A green future for jobs, a green future for health, a green future for the planet, a green future for everyone, where renewable energy sources are the heartbeat of our society and where we can live with the security that green policy provides us. It has been an incredibly tough 12 months for everyone, and more challenging weeks and months do lie ahead. Yet we can feel very optimistic for the opportunities that elections bring to the table this year and for our continued support for each other. We will continue to fight for our green values and for a green future. Enjoy conference, and thank you for everything that you do.